This video was made possible by the EA Creator Network. Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build. So today I am building here in the brand new world of Copperdale, which is the new world coming in the Sims 4 High School Years expansion pack, which is coming out very soon. I'm not exactly sure like the release date at the moment, but thank you to EA for providing me with an early access copy so I could record this early. I got an early build of the expansion pack, so keep in mind that things are subject to change. It's not the final version of the expansion pack, so not final software. So keep that in mind as things may change and be updated before the release of the expansion pack. But yeah, since I had an early version of the game, I have this watermark that's floating around on the screen. Hopefully it's not too annoying, but there's nothing I can do about it. It's just there. And then also I'm building with only base game and the new expansion pack. So I had a version of the game. It was basically like Sims Camp at home. So I got to participate in the early access using a completely different version of the game, using only base game and the expansion pack, and it was so much fun. And the first thing that I wanted to build was a high school, and I had no idea where to begin. This is probably my third attempt at building one. I tried a couple of different other like entryways and they looked okay, but they weren't like, I don't know, they didn't make me want to keep building it, basically. I didn't want to keep going. I wasn't super inspired by them. They would have probably worked if I would have kept going, but sometimes when I do builds like that, if I like don't love it right from the start, then it's kind of like a more slower process. I'll end up loving it in the end usually if I keep working on it, but it's a much slower process and I end up building for way longer than if I'm just like really inspired from the beginning. Hopefully that makes sense. But this one I just immediately started building, and I built this entryway and these planter boxes, and I could just see where it was going, and I just had so much fun with it. And a school is so much fun to build with. Oh yeah, here you can see that I am using the rounded rooms. I'm doing a dedicated video on that. You guys will see that come out the first day of early access release. So once the embargo is released, I'm going to be sharing just a small video where I'm quickly looking at the rounded rooms and kind of showing you guys some of the new features and just tiny little bits, because I really didn't have much time to mess around with them. And I tried using them here, but unfortunately the way I was trying to use them really wasn't working for this particular build, but I really had no idea what I was doing. Now after playing around with them a little bit more, I have a better idea, but I'm really not going to get super comfortable with them till I probably build with them for some time, because they're a little bit finicky and there's a little bit of glitches and stuff, but they're still very new. And yeah, basically hopefully there will be more updates that come with them, hopefully. But anyways, I'm very excited because it's going to open up so many possibilities for different types of builds, like castles and medieval style builds, and also like Art Deco style, which this expansion pack is very much Art Deco style. You'll notice here with like the windows and the doors and a lot of the like main build features of the expansion pack. Oh, speaking of that, I'm also doing a build and buy overview that is very long, and I really looked at everything in detail. I didn't look at every single swatch because the video would probably be like twice as long if I had of, but it's still a very detailed overview, so you guys can definitely check that out if you are interested. But yeah, the build style is very much Art Deco with the actual build items. So like the windows and the doors, there is one window that is not in an Art Deco style. It's just like a very basic window, and also one door, but they're for like family homes. And the window your Sims can actually climb in and out of, which is so cool for teenagers because then they can actually sneak out of the house. And I do have a family build coming up tomorrow where I used the windows and actually made sure that it was functioning and your teenagers could climb out of the window. I didn't play long enough for them to like develop friendships and actually get invited to sneak out to like a party or something, because I think that's a possibility. But if you guys are familiar with my channel at all, you know that I know nothing about gameplay. And so I was primarily focused on making sure that the build just functioned and looked the way I wanted to. So that one will be coming out tomorrow. And yeah, so that window is just more of like a simpler shape, but you guys can see all of those details in the build and buy overview. But for now, I am working on the front of this school, trying to figure out how I wanted the entryway to look, because there is already an entryway to this school lot, and schools are fixed to this location, by the way. I don't believe you can build them in any other world because they're a special lot type, but you can completely bulldoze the original one and build build everything from scratch, which I'm super happy about. I don't really mind that it's in a fixed location because I think that probably makes it more functional for gameplay and probably a lot less glitchy than if they were going to be like built in other worlds. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but that's my guess. But anyways, I'm really happy with it, and really happy to be able to build schools, because when I first saw that there was going to be schools in this expansion pack, I just kind of assumed that we'd be able to maybe make some modifications, maybe like edit the hallways or some of the rooms, or like very minimal editing. I didn't think we'd be able to completely build one from scratch. So yeah, there is an entryway already with like the school bus, but that wasn't enough for me, and I really didn't think I'd be able to fill up the entire lot with just the school and make it look the way I wanted to. So I decided to do a parking lot. I felt like that was pretty realistic. There is another parking lot just to the left side of the build if you're looking at it from the front, and I kind of thought that that was like student parking because all of the spaces are painted, so I figured that was more of like, I don't know, like a school spirit sort of thing, or something to do with school. So I figured that was for students. If they're, you know, driving age, then they park over there if they drive to school and that kind of thing. And then over here is going to be for like faculty or visitors, and the school buses too. Basically, I just wanted to use a school bus in the build, and they're so cool. I really was excited to see a school bus. At first, I couldn't find them in the live edit objects, and so I didn't think that we got it. I thought it was just the decorative school bus at the front of the lot, and I was so sad, but thankfully I kept looking and I saw it, and so I used 4 of them in this lot, and I kind of just thought that they were where the school buses are parked during the day. I think when I went to high school, the school buses were kind of like more around the back side of the high school, and then there was a shop next to them, so if they needed worked on, then they could just go right there, and I think there was a mechanic in there. I really have no idea, but I know they were parked like right by the school all the time, and I think there was a shop next to it. I don't think I ever really paid that much attention, but for me, I felt like this was very realistic, and it looked really good for like screenshots to have a few school buses out front. Maybe they're just waiting there for like a field trip or something, although where I placed them would probably be impossible to pull them out of these parking spaces and not hit like the fence or the other cars or something. So forgive me if it looks unrealistic that way, but I think the like nice compactness of the parking lot looks really good, and I love the other cars and all of the details. I really tried to use a lot of like debug and live edit objects to really make this build feel like alive and complete, because I'm not really sure if I will build another high school. I mean, I might build one more once I get access to the pack, just to use all of the packs, but I really don't know if I could top the shape of this one, so I don't know if I would just end up renovating this one. Let me know if you guys would like to see another high school, but yeah, I really wanted to do my best with this build and see what I could come up with, of course, just the base game and this expansion pack. And I really liked adding these debug or live edit objects awnings. I think you can see them in like the town area and maybe even over here by the school too, but I put benches underneath of them, and I kind of imagined if students are waiting for somebody to come pick them up, or they're waiting to get on the bus or whatever, they could just sit there. I also put a few decorations out there that I thought would be like bicycle racks, and so I thought that looked pretty good. And then here at the back of the build, you'll see that I have a bunch of stuff like scattered around the lot, and this was basically because I couldn't leave the lot, I couldn't save it without all of the like required pieces on the lot, so I just threw them back there, left the game, and then came back to build it at a different time. And so thankfully that was super easy, and it's not like the hospital or the like science lab lot where you can build on it, but it doesn't tell you the requirements. But I mean, you're not technically supposed to be able to build on those lots because you actually have to use cheats to build there, which is unfortunate. I really don't know why they did it that way, but I'm really happy that this is not the same way as those ones, and you can actually like see the lot from the map. It's not hidden in some like secret area in some secret world or something. So I'm really happy with the way they did that, and really impressed by the build and buy items. I think the quality of them are really nice, and I think just a lot of thought went into this expansion pack. I mean, I haven't done any gameplay like I said, but it just seems that way to me. Like for instance, these lockers, this set of 2 right here is the functioning lockers, and I think you need 8 of them. I ended up not placing enough, so you'll see me go back when I place the lockers to place like a couple of more, but there's 3 different variations. There's the 2 that are functioning, and then there's like a single end piece, and then there's a group of like 3 of them, and then like a group of 4 of them, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But like I said, you'll see everything in my build and buy overview if you guys are interested in watching that. But Yeah, those ones are purely decorative, so you can kind of mix them up where you want like the ones that are functioning to be and the ones that are purely decorative and kind of mix them together so Sims aren't standing right next to each other and kind of being over top of each other. There's a little bit of space in between them, and it really makes the school feel a little bit more full because then the students are interacting in different locations. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I was pretty impressed by that. So here I wanted to create like a reception area for the receptionist to work. Although when I was playtesting this, I noticed there was no receptionist, so it's kind of a useless area, but I think for like screenshots it looks good and it's realistic to have something right here in the entryway of the school. So of course if you have like a better use of the space, then you could easily repurpose it for something else. And the doors that I placed leading into this part of the building, students can't walk through it, so it's purely like a faculty door, which is another thing that I thought was really cool and another smart thing that I think they, I was glad that they thought of. And so I used it in this area. I also used that door leading into the teacher's lounge, and in the teacher's lounge I put like a coffee machine, a microwave, a refrigerator, and some like storage pieces and a table. And I really had fun decorating that area because I actually worked at a school for a little while and I spent time in the teacher's lounge, and so I kind of brought in pieces that reminded me of that. So that was super fun for me, and really here I'm just trying to add clutter pieces that I thought made sense for the area, trying to make it feel like somebody actually works in this area and has like their clutter pieces around. So I think this actually looks pretty good. And yeah, I really like the way this area turned out. I actually ended up removing the ceiling light. I sized up the ceiling light that came with this expansion pack, and of course I don't have any mods, so I couldn't make micro adjustments when scaling objects up like I would with the tool mod in my regular game, but I sized it up just using the bracket key, and it just sized up way too much. So when I was taking the screenshots, I just felt like it looked a little bit weird. And then here in the entryway, I also thought some chairs would be nice in case students are waiting for orientation, or if they're waiting to talk to somebody, or somebody's coming in to pick up their kid from school or something. It just felt like realistic to have some seating area here in the entryway to the school. And I built this build kind of differently than I normally do. Usually I'll build like an entire shell, work out the floor plan, and then do the landscaping. Sometimes I do the landscaping before the floor plan, and then I don't always regret it, but I always think it's a bad idea. But for this build, I really wanted to make sure that I had enough space for all of the rooms and activities that I wanted to include. So I'm kind of building it in, like a mixed order, I guess you could say, where I'm building some of the exterior, then some of the interior, and then working on the floor plan and kind of doing it in this weird order that just makes sense for my brain. And so hopefully it's not too confusing to watch where I'm, going to the different spaces. But I really wanted the cafeteria to be right here behind the reception desk. I felt like that made sense for it and for like the layout of the school. And so on the left and right side are the main classrooms. For the schools, you need two different classrooms for your students to go to. And so I made sure to have those, but there's also an extra room that I thought was just kind of like an electives classroom where I put some musical instruments and some like easels and art supplies. And so I just imagined it's like an arts and crafts sort of room. And I imagined it's kind of like an elective space, and there is free time at the beginning of your Sims school day. So you could probably go in there and work on their painting skill and pretend that they're in a class. And then I also made a study hall, so if they have extra studying that they need to do, then they could go in there. It's kind of like a library too, so you could use it as that if you would like to, and your Sims could bring their laptop in there and do some studying during their free time. And then there's the two main classrooms, and then there's the cafeteria, and they do have lunchtime, and that all seemed to work fine. I also placed two different restrooms. Each of the bathrooms have two stalls. There are bathroom stalls that came with this expansion pack, and unfortunately they don't have any writing on the walls on the inside of them, and I was really disappointed by that. If you do have Discover University, then I would probably use the bathroom stalls that came in that pack to have the graffiti all over them, because it just seems so realistic to me to have like a high school bathroom with writing all over the bathroom walls. I don't know if that was a thing in every high school, but that was definitely a thing in my high school, and I think it's a thing everywhere because I'm pretty sure any school bathroom I have ever been in and any public bathroom really has writing on the walls. So I was pretty surprised that they didn't have a variation with that. Here I am placing the lockers. And like I mentioned, the group of two are the functioning ones, and it's so cute because you can actually click on them and do different interactions. You can have your Sim decorate their locker, and there's like a few different categories to choose from. And then you can also freshen up with your locker, so they like freshen their breath and like check themselves out in the mirror. And then you can also grab an apple from your locker, and I think maybe one or two other interactions that I'm not remembering at the moment. So it's really cool. And then you can mix them together with the non-functioning lockers, just to kind of space them out a little bit, which kind of just drives the Sims around to different parts of the school, which is pretty cool. I was actually worried that this school was going to be too big and the Sims were going to have trouble, getting from one end of it to the other, or, just that it was going to feel empty, but it didn't feel empty at all. Like there was tons of students, there was tons of, action going around, and I tried to make sure as many things were fully functional as I could. I didn't really play test the arts and crafts area, so that's something to keep in mind, but I really wanted to make sure that the actual things for the classroom settings were working, and I had a limited time with this expansion pack, so forgive me if I missed anything, but I did save my saves folder so I can put it in my regular game once I get access to this expansion pack, and then I'll be able to maybe play test it again before uploading it to the gallery. But yeah, here I'm just quickly decorating the bathrooms. They're the same, they're identical bathrooms. I just kind of copied them over and made them look exactly the same. I do actually end up moving them over just slightly, so I changed the entryway just over by a tile because I realized that I needed to make the principal's office and the teacher's lounge just a little bit bigger because they were way too crowded the way I was placing them. And then here I'm just kind of shuffling around these lockers, trying to make sure that they're in the exact same order as the other room, because I just kind of copied them over, but they didn't copy over exactly because it was a little bit different placement. But yeah, I think I made it work. And here I'm just picking out some wallpaper. I decided that some more traditional wallpaper would be nice for both the teacher's lounge and the principal's office. And I also used wood flooring in there, and I didn't in like any other part of the school. For the rest of the school, I used concrete floor and tile. I felt like that was very realistic. It was very similar, very nostalgic feeling anyways, to my high school with like the walls and the flooring. I mean, this is a very Americanized version of high school, which I love. I know some people I saw on Twitter were kind of disappointed that it was going to be so American focused, but for me, it was really nostalgic. I've been out of high school now for 12 years, 13 years, something like that. I graduated in 2007, so it's been a long time, but it really reminded me of a lot of things being in, building in this school, not being in it. I wasn't physically there, but I'm sure you guys get what I mean. So it was really fun for me, and the stone texture that I used on the exterior, I didn't use it on the interior because I just didn't think it really worked with this build. But that stone texture is the same stone texture that was in my high school. So it was so funny to me. My high school was not this colorful though. I really tried to go out of my comfort zone and use a lot more bold colors like the yellow lockers and the turquoise colors. But I was just trying to embrace that part of the expansion pack because there's a lot of really fun colors, and I don't normally use that many bright colors in a build. But I think for this school, it made it feel more youthful. It made it feel more fun and more like Sims-like, to be a little bit sillier with the color scheme. So hopefully you guys will like that too. But yeah, over here is going to be the principal's office. So I think your Sims can actually be sent to the principal's office if they're acting out or misbehaving. I didn't play test it that long to find any of those interactions, but I believe they can. But something I did notice, so when I was decorating the classrooms, I used desks at the front of the classroom, and that seemed to function just fine with the teachers using their whiteout boards and everything. It didn't seem to cause any problems with that, but I did notice that the principal would be in there sitting down sometimes. So I think she was confused about which desk was actually hers and where her office was. So I'm going to remove those desks when I get access to the expansion pack again and place something else that's not technically tagged as a desk in game and see if that works, because I still want those desks to be there because they make the rooms feel more full and more realistic. You'll see that once I start decorating those rooms, and then just leave the actual desk in the principal's office, and hopefully that will fix it, because I think that makes sense to me why that was not functioning correctly. But anyways, here I'm just trying to find different decorations to fill in the space, trying to make it feel fully decorated but not overly crowded. I tried to make it feel very professional, like a principal would actually be in this office. And I was so happy that I was able to add a window, because when I was first working out the floor plan, I wasn't going to have a window, and I didn't really feel like that was much of an office to not have a window. It felt like it would be very dark and uncomfortable and kind of gloomy, and so I was able to add both a window in the principal's office and then over here in the teacher's lounge. So this is going to be the teacher's lounge, and I made sure to add a coffee pot, a microwave, a refrigerator, basically everywhere for the teachers to have lunch. But something that I noticed when I was playtesting, that the teachers and the principal seemed to just get lunch from the cafeteria, which I guess makes sense for gameplay because that's probably just how it's programmed, but I was really hoping that they would have lunch in here. Although I did see a couple of the faculty members every once in a while in here, I think getting coffee or something. So that was realistic enough for me. At least they were in here at some point. But something that I remembered from working at the school, I mean, it was an elementary school, but we always had like snacks and stuff out on the table. Like every day that I went in there for lunch, there was always like cookies or cupcakes or some sort of like cheese dip thing or like something to share with somebody, so that I made sure to put something on the desk. So I just used the fruit cake that's been nibbled into. I thought that was pretty cute. And then I also put like a bowl of fruit and some flowers. And then later on I do find the debug lunch bag of the to-go food, and so I put that on the table too. I think I might have accidentally cut that part of the video out, so hopefully I didn't, but I did have to heavily cut this though because I was so indecisive. I would redo areas and redo things and do things that I didn't like and delete it and then move on to another area. So it's one of my most edited videos, which I try not to do a lot of because that's just the way I prefer to make my videos and also to watch them too. But this one was quite the build. As you can see, it's one of my longest speed builds, but I really tried to do a good job with it, and I really tried to make it feel like a real school and to be fully detailed and everything. But here I've moved back to the exterior, working out the left and right side of the build. Basically, I made this school very symmetrical. I felt like that made a lot of sense for the building, and it made it a lot easier for me to decide what to do and what shape to make it, and so I think that worked out really nicely. And also something that I did when I was decorating the classrooms, I decided to make them 2 different subjects. And the first one I did like a science and math room, and then the other one I did like English and social studies. At least that's the area I was trying to go for. So I was trying to do similar courses in each of the rooms, since only 2 are necessary. And I did place one other whiteout board when I was playtesting, and it gave me a weird option. I forget exactly what it was, like to choose which class that one was going to be for, but I think it was just like the first or second class, not the actual subject. And so I don't think adding any more changes this. But something that I noticed when the kids were actually going to school, the whiteout boards only showed math class. So I don't know if I would have kept playing, if some of the other subjects would show up, because I think there's supposed to be other subjects. Oh, I did end up using wood in another room. I used it in the classrooms. I totally forgot. So I used the traditional wallpaper and the wood flooring in the classrooms. So this is going to be the first classroom that I decorate, obviously. And in here, I basically just wanted it to feel like fully decorated, really cluttered and detailed. And I was going for a science and math theme for this classroom. So I used posters related to that sort of subject class, I guess just like the STEM subjects. And I think it actually looks really good. I'm really pleased. Here behind the whiteout board, I felt like I needed something extra, like some sort of chalkboard or extra whiteout board, and we don't have either one of those, so I used some cork board sized up, and I think it actually looks pretty good, and it fills in the space. It makes it feel like maybe there was an older board behind it that the teacher used to use, but now they use the new modern whiteout board, because I think that's pretty typical to see like the chalkboard and then maybe a whiteout board that's been brought in, or part of the wall's been turned into a whiteout board and then there's still some chalk. I don't know, I wish we would have had a chalkboard. I thought that would be fun, but these whiteout boards are awesome. Like when they changed to have all of the school, like the lessons on them, it looks so good, and the screenshots were so much fun to take. And so I really, really enjoyed that. So in here, I do have 6 desks. It did seem like most of them were full when I was playtesting it, and the other class seemed full too. So it really felt like there was a lot of activity going on, and there was, enough desks for all of the kids, and it didn't seem like there was too many, but there still like was enough space to not feel like overly crowded with Sims. And so I felt like that worked out pretty nicely. And this is the desk that I was talking about at the very front of the classroom. So I think what I'm going to do is swap that out for maybe like a side table or something that might pass as a desk, or like a dining table or something, and then change out the computer to not be a functioning computer, but maybe swap it out for something else. I think there's another type of computer that comes with base game that's I don't think it's an actual functioning computer. Maybe it's for like research or something. Am I remembering that correctly? Hopefully I am. But I'll figure it out, just so the actual office for the principal is being used by the principal. And I did notice when I was playtesting too, that I changed the door to the office to one that like students can walk through, because originally I used the one that was only for faculty, but then I didn't think that really made a whole lot of sense for students who are in trouble that needed to go see the principal, because then I didn't think they would be able to get in the office to see her. So I swapped it out, but then I noticed a student was in messing with her computer, so I'm not sure if the principal actually needs a computer too. So I still have a lot more playtesting to do, and I should probably watch some people's videos on gameplay, because maybe it'll give me ideas before uploading this to the gallery so it can actually be a good functioning school. So anyways, over here is going to be the second classroom. So like I mentioned, the other theme is going to be like English and social studies, kind of a mix between those. And this one I had a lot harder of a time finding decorations for. It seemed like primarily the subject that came with this expansion pack, like with the posters, was science related or math related. And so that was easy. There was lots of different decorations for that, but for this one it was a little bit harder, but I think I made it work. I think I found decorations that lent towards, you know, English, social studies, or history, kind of more of those sort of subjects. And yeah, I don't know, I think it looks really good too. I did the same thing with the cork board behind the whiteout board. I also added some more bookcases in here. I added these lower ones just to show more books and stuff. I felt like that kind of worked more for this particular subject and theme of the classroom. And yeah, I don't know, it looks really cute. I really enjoyed adding all of the different posters and the different decorations and trying to find things that made sense for the different subjects, and I think it looks super, super cute. So I really enjoyed decorating a classroom, and this was one of like the most fun builds I think I've done in a long time, because I mean, I do lots of family homes and lots of apartments that I really enjoy, but I don't do anything that's like this very often. And I think the last time I felt like this was when I built the science lab for my save file. I felt like that was like an accomplishment because it was such a big build, and this one kind of has the same feeling because it was such a big build and it was so detailed and like something that you would actually see in real life. I mean, family homes you would too, but I just do so many of them that they just don't really feel the same, I guess, when I create them. So yeah, hopefully you guys are going to like it as much as I do. But here you can see I'm just adding some trees. We did get new trees in the live edit objects from this expansion pack, and the trees are so good, especially these ones that I used at the very front by the bus stop. I like the texture on the leaf and like the color. They look a little bit more realistic and less cartoony. I really like them. It's not overly realistic to where it like doesn't match the game, but it's a little bit more to where it feels, I don't know, a little bit special. So I really like these trees a lot, and I'll definitely be using them a ton. For the landscaping, I tried to mirror both of the planter beds, make them identical. I definitely think that there's like a groundskeeper or somebody that maintains the flower beds and, you know, takes care of the grass and the water and stuff. So I tried to make it look pretty manicured and pretty tidy. I felt like that made a lot of sense, and I tried to not overdo it. I tried to leave some just plain grassy area. I think that's pretty realistic. There's not as much grassy area as I would like to have left, but I think if I would have left too much, it would have just made the lot feel empty and not as fully decorated and just kind of bare and boring. So I am totally fine with the way it turned out. And I also used these new awning decorations here as like hallways or breezeways, I guess you might be able to call them, leading out to the back of the school. And at the back of the school, I had no idea what I wanted to do because I had no idea how to kind of like finish it off. But I ended up actually creating another hallway leading from the study hall or library, whatever you want to call it, to a gymnasium. And I was so happy to include a gym because that was something that I really wanted to include, and I pretty much had no clue how to make it happen. But thankfully I got an idea here in just a little while when I'm decorating the library, so you guys will see that soon. And I made it work, and I created a kind of like faux basketball court because of course basketball came with City Living, so if you have that expansion pack, I would definitely add some basketball hoops. But something that I thought once I didn't have access to this expansion pack anymore was that swimming pools would be really nice to have in there too, because that would definitely be something else that you might find at a really big high school like this. I wish my high school would have had swimming. They did not. I went to a very small school. There was actually like 32 people in my graduating class, so it was a very, very small school. I lived in a very rural community, and it just didn't really have those extra activities. It still had like the basics like football, basketball, it had volleyball, softball, baseball, I think maybe even soccer sometimes, maybe not soccer so much. And then of course like track and field, but it didn't have swim, it didn't have golf. My husband went to a high school that was much, much bigger, and they had all of the activities like golf and stuff, which is so funny to me because that just seems just so different than the high school that I went to. But Anyways, here is the arts and crafts sort of room. Maybe you could even make it like a home ec room and add some like cooking stuff in here. But basically, I just thought this was a good space to have for your Sims to do some skill building, not necessary for the actual speed build. So maybe if you're playing it and you decide that you have a better use of the space, you could easily swap it out for something else. So this is another desk that I added that I will definitely be swapping out for something else. And in here, I basically just tried to find art related objects, music related objects. So there's a violin in here, there's a guitar in here, there's also some easels and art supplies and just various decorations that I found from the expansion pack and base game to clutter up the desk with, just trying to make them feel like decorated and like there was lots of supplies for your Sims to get creative with. And yeah, I don't know, I think I made it work because I don't know, I think it looks really good, but I felt like when I was trying to find the different decorations that I was kind of struggling a little bit and trying not to like repeat myself with the different decorations, but I think I made it work. I also thought about putting the easels here at the center. I thought that would be kind of cool, but I ended up not doing it because I felt like it just made the room look a little bit awkward and kind of blocked the view from the desk to the door, and I just felt like that was a little bit weird. But something that I ended up doing is actually laying some rugs down in the room and then bringing the desks a little bit closer together, and I think that just kind of like got rid of the awkwardness that I felt the room had. I felt like it looked a little bit awkward, and so bringing them together and adding the rugs just made it feel like everywhere had its actual place and didn't seem so thrown in here and kind of awkward. But yeah, here is the rug that I ended up adding, so I just ended up placing 2 of them, and they are sized up. This rug is quite small, but it's new with the expansion pack. And then here I'm just trying to find posters and artwork that kind of went along with this particular theme, and I thought that these base game paintings with the sloth and the other animal creature, what is that? I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they're so colorful and I thought they were so fun to have in an arts and crafts room. And something that I forgot to mention, at the end of the hallways, I also made some janitor's closets and just put some like debug and live edit objects in there. So they're not really like functional spaces, but I felt like they were kind of necessary and I had the extra space to put them in there, so I felt like that worked out pretty nicely. And then over here, this is going to be the library / study hall. I wanted it to feel more like a study hall than a library. Like, you know, there's no librarian desk, there's no like, it's more of like a communal study space with the round tables, rather than like a library where you would be like, you know, quiet and tucked at a computer or in your like little divided area. And so I wanted to make it feel like it was a little bit more social. But this is when I realized I didn't have enough lockers, so I had to swap out a couple of them to the functioning ones, and so I just placed them there. But yeah, in here I felt like chess tables were very appropriate, and you can also be a part of the school chess club, so I felt like that was a nice place just to come in here and maybe practice, compete with some of your fellow classmates and stuff. And then I used this new decoration up on the table. I thought that was pretty perfect, and then just put a few other things around, some laptops and stuff, just trying to make it feel like students have been actively in here learning. And this is where I ended up actually placing the hallway over to the gymnasium. So over here where I'm placing these chairs, I felt like this space was so awkward. I had no idea what to do over here, but I needed to add something, so I added a couple of chairs, and then I added a side table with a typewriter, and I felt like the typewriter was kind of like a fun decoration. And I'm not sure if I ended up keeping the typewriter in there once I placed the door to the hallway. I hope that I did. If not, I'm going to replace it. I might place it in the English and social studies classroom, because I think that would be a pretty appropriate decoration to have in there. So we'll see what ends up happening. But anyways, this is where I created the gym. So I just created a little hallway. It led out to the gym, and this just kind of made it easy for me to figure out how to finish off the rest of the build. And I didn't think I needed any more rooms. I think maybe I could have created like a gardening area outside, but I just felt like I would take away too much from like the grass area, and it would just start to feel too cluttered. And so I ended up not doing that, but it's totally something you could include, like a couple of greenhouses or a little shed or something for your Sims to work on their gardening supplies. But I really feel like they have like a full day of activities that if you were to add anything else to the school, you would never get to use them. I mean, maybe at like the brief time during like the free time in the morning or something, but yeah, it looks like I did keep the typewriter in here on the side table. I thought that was such a cute decoration. And then I just have some posters and stuff on the wall, and then just a doorway into the gym. And then originally I was just gonna put a couple of windows here on this side, and I end up putting a side table over here that's like from the career day. And I thought that looks really good. A couple of these decorations too. And I really liked having the career day table in here. I think it looks really good, but I felt like with having the parking lot over there, you would want like a sidewalk leading to the gym and like another way to access the gym. So what I ended up doing is adding some doors there and having a sidewalk that leads to that parking lot so the students can easily, get to the gym when they're driving themselves to school. And so I felt like that made a lot of sense for them to have like an access point on that side of the school. And so over here I'm adding it, just copying over the same stairs that I used, the same flooring and stuff like that. And then here I'm adding some beams at the top of the gym. I felt like that was pretty realistic to have some beams. With the base game, we don't really have like the best beams to use like as far as spandrels go, so I just used a fence, and the fence that I used is okay, but it's probably not ideal. Once I have access to the other packs, there will probably be like a better option to use, but I think I'm gonna leave it the way it is because I want this to still be a base game and high school years only build when I upload it to the gallery. But that will definitely be something I would keep in mind. Like if you guys have cats and dogs, that spandrel would work a lot better, I think, than the fence that I used. So yeah, here I wanted to create some bleachers, and this I struggled with for so long in trying to make it work, just because with platforms and staircases, sometimes they just don't work together very nicely. They're kind of glitchy and kind of frustrating. I think I made it work, and I think it looks somewhat like bleachers in the end, but I spent so much time trying to get this to look okay, and I have no clue if your Sims can actually sit over here, so it's probably a completely like useless space. And I can't believe I didn't think of the pool idea when I was creating this, because it's really a completely useless space even if the bleachers are functioning, because with it being a base game build, there's no basketball, so I used the signs from the football field to kind of act as like where the basketball like hoops would be and like where the scoreboards would be. But yeah, I don't know, it looks kind of silly, but I tried to make it work. I really liked using the wood flooring with the school sign, and I think if I would have added like a cheerleading mat in here, that would have made it feel like a little bit more purposeful, because then you could come in here and like practice for cheer or something, and that would make it feel a little bit more realistic. But I think the swimming pool idea is pretty good too. Of course you could create an outdoor swimming pool. I just didn't even think about swimming pools at all when I was building it, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I think that would have been pretty cool, but I still like this room nonetheless. And here you can see I came up with a much better shape of the bleachers, and I think it actually looks really good. And I think the scoreboards from the football actually look pretty good too, even though there's no basketball hoops. And I really like the decal on the floor. I think that looks so nice. And then I added some windows in here, and I feel like it just looks really realistic to a gym. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So hopefully you guys do like it too. And I was going to add some windows on that side, but I didn't think that was totally necessary. But something that I ended up doing was actually adding some trees on the outside and some more of these track and field related posters on the outside too, just to sort of advertise the school activities. I thought that was pretty nice. And then here at the back, I did add the town founder statue. I wish that it was like the school founder statue, but maybe he founded the school too when he founded the town. I think that probably makes sense, but either way, the statue is new with the expansion pack. Same with this little grassy knoll that I put him on, and then I just used the same flooring that I did at the front of the build, creating some pathways. And then I do like a little community sitting area with some like picnic benches and stuff like that over here to the left. And I thought that was kind of like a nice way to fill in the space and not make it feel too cluttered, but still feel like your Sims have something to go do over here. There's also a fountain. So I think this area you guys could have a lot of fun with. Like I was saying, if you wanted to add some greenhouses, or if you like having an outdoor swimming pool for swim meets or something, or I don't know, maybe even like the functioning fountain that came from what is that pack called? The romantic garden stuff, so they could throw coins in there. And then they can also sit on that fountain too, which that could be so cute for screenshots if you had like a couple sitting there, or even just some friends and stuff. I'm not sure how many interactions they can do while sitting on that one, but I'm sure it can make some really good screenshots. But yeah, here I'm just finishing up the landscaping, and then we're going to be coming on to the screenshots. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this build. Again, thank you to EA for providing me with this early access so I could build this for you guys a little bit early, and hopefully this voiceover has been okay. It's a long one, and my voice is actually already scratchy. I don't know, I feel like I'm getting sick, and my son woke me up at 4:30 this morning, so I'm a little bit groggy. But yeah, hopefully it wasn't too bad, and hopefully you guys do enjoy the screenshots. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions you have, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!
I was lost in a city dream, and I was at home again beside the stream. Then you walked past me first time. When I saw you, I thought I lost my mind. Blue and faded was blown away and left behind. I hope you'll always be around, even if I fail. You are like a summer breeze that I must inhale. Is it possible for us to feel this way forever? Loving you has never felt more right. Woke up lonely, and for you there is nothing in this world